Hey guys, welcome back. It is your favorite Gimp with a Limp, and I am here with a Kickstarter worth checking out. This is Downfall, the Wargame series. It is currently on Kickstarter right now. Got 15 days left, almost 400 backers. They've definitely met their goal, so this one's going to be produced, which is awesome. And it looks like the last funding day is going to be March 20th. So you got about 2/3 of the month to decide whether or not you would like to back this Kickstarter or not. So we'll do what we always do with this, play the video real quick, let you guys watch it, and then I'll go over a couple things about the game that I think kind of are interesting. All right, so that's a quick little video. No, speech over on it, but cool looking. I think they did a really good job with the graphics on that, so good job on the video. Before we get too much farther in, let's go ahead and eyeball how much the game is going to cost. You can do the pledge without a reward if you want to. Pledge £2 or $3 and you get access to the pledge manager. Okay, usually it's $1, but they want 3. Cool. Inflation is killing us. Gotta love it. And this is something I actually like about this. All right. I was figuring the game would be relatively well priced, and it is well priced. They're about $60 a piece, 61 roughly, and then obviously you got to add shipping on top. Now that's US. It's 55 pounds. Oh, that's not pounds. That's euros. Yep, that's a damn euro. Okay, so it's 55 euros, so I don't know what the hell that is in pounds, but it's about 60 bucks. Regardless, that's not a bad price for a war game. Not at all, especially today's world. You can get either game, because you notice it's 2 games. There's a World War I game, and there's a World War II game. And it looks like they both operate on the same principle, which I like. So if you learn one game, you're going to basically understand how to play the other. Now, I think, and this is just from me eyeballing it previously, that the World War II version probably is a little bit more game for your money, more components, stuff like that. But really, it's whatever interests you. Now, obviously, you can get both. They have a playmat, which I'll show you guys down there at the bottom. That's cool. So you can have the usual board, or you can get the whole neoprene mat thing. That's awesome. I like having that option on there. To get both games, though, it is $122. So really, 2 games, a World War I and a World War II game, strategic level, that have production and research in them. Now, it's not the deepest gameplay. Honestly, I've got a good grasp of how gameplay works. It looks like it's the basic. You have this many armies. Their strength is this. If they're not directly engaged, they can give support. You roll and see what happens, right? It's not overly complex. Trace your supply lines, get supplies, build up extra units, reinforce others. But cool game nonetheless. If you've played other war games, you'll have a good idea on how this one's going to play. And to get 2 of them covering 2 world wars for 120 bucks, obviously add shipping on top, so we're probably looking at 140, 150 out the door. Now that's for me, Lord knows where the hell you are. If you're in Australia, it's going to cost you about $1,000. Everywhere else, up to you guys. It's really not that bad. You can get the whole thing Let's see. Oh, they had an early bird. I missed the early bird. That sucks. Let's see. That should be both, right? Yeah. One copy of Downfall of Empires, one copy of Downfall of Third Reich, and a neoprene map for both for 166. That's not bad. You're looking at about $20 each for the neoprene mats. As if they're good quality, if they're decent quality, that's good price. I wish I had seen this earlier. I might have gone down that road, but no, probably not. I'm not spending too much money yet. I'm probably going to get at least the World War II version of this game. Not that I don't like World War One, but I just don't have the extra funds to put towards games right now. But this does look like one worth investing in. But for 166, you could have got it for 155 with a early. I hate the early stuff. Don't do early stuff, because if you miss it, then you kind of feel bad later. And I understand why they do it. They do it because they want people to back as quickly as possible, because you get more pledges and more backers if others already see that the pledge manager's already been met, right? So it's going to be produced. It inspires confidence. It'll get more people to buy. So ergo, they put the early backing on there to get people to jump in earlier, because they can save $5-10. I get why they do it, but I hate it because if you miss it, then you're like, I could have saved a few dollars. But honestly, this is saving a lot off of retail anyway. Game overview talks about them. The designer, Victor, think I'm going to get this, Katala. Hope I don't mispronounce that. Easy to learn, difficult to master, and that's what I was going to say. This is not beer and pretzels, but I would say it's just a step above beer and pretzels in difficulty level. Playtime, 3 to 4 hours, one game session, 2, 3, or 4 players. Honestly, I'm going to say solitaire, because I play all my shit solitaire anyway, and I have not seen anything in these that would be a reason why you couldn't play it solitaire. So you can see both the boxes here. And scroll down, and it's a nice looking map, nice looking pieces. Everything looks laid out really well, and I like these strategic level games that you can play relatively quickly, because like Unconditional Surrender, one of my favorite games. It's made by GMT, covers World War II, and it's similar in vein to this, but a fair bit more complex, right? But I rarely get to pull that out to the table, because there's a lot of setup and a lot of all that getting involved. I'm getting the feeling I could get that Unconditional Surrender feeling from this game. Now, it's not going to be as deep, not as nuanced, complex, and less chrome, but I can get that touch, and I can get it in an evening versus, having to set it up and keep my table occupied for days. Showing, let's see, this is the World War I version of it, and you can see all along the edge of the map here, it's got all the stuff keeping track. I'm guessing turn record track, the resources, things like that. Looks like some off-map areas that you can go to. Can't tell exactly what's on there. Says it's 23 by 33. Not too bad. So about poster size, what we used to before. And this is what I saw that kind of ticked me over to the game. That I was like, yeah, I want to get one of these. And it's the technology tiles. So they do have some way to upgrade your units over the course of time. And I like when they have that in there, because obviously what you start the war with is not the same as what you end the war with, because there's a whole lot of research and production that's done, especially in World War One. I mean, tanks were invented in World War One. Air combat was invented in World War One. They started out just using planes as recon, and by the end, they were actually able to bomb stuff and do aerial dogfights. Now, it wasn't complex aerial dogfights, but they were doing it, and they created tanks. So that's all in this game. Shows technology tokens for Germany, French, UK, US, and the same thing. They can open up tanks, airplanes, poison gas, which is bad, but it looks like a lot of it is different types of attacks and maneuvers. The World War II version has more actual technology that gets unlocked. Less combat tokens, and this is the thing that I noticed that was real big, And the difference between the World War I and the World War II version was that it had fewer of these tokens, so it seemed to be smaller in scale. So let's scroll on down and see the next map. And just so you see this, for both games, it looks like the counters are pretty much the same. Combat factor and support factor. And if you could see, they show some examples of how to play. Basically, if you have your counter attacking an enemy counter, you're going to use your combat factors. And then if you have like 2 counters versus their 1, you're going to use the combat factors for the main ones, but that extra army can use that support factor number. So they get to add that to it instead of their main number. And it makes it easier because you don't have to worry about, half this, round up, whatever their support factor listed on the counter is, that's what they get to add. I like that. Makes it nice and easy. How to play, it looks like these are the phases of the game. Recruit, get new units, reinforce. Activation, so do your stuff. Research, develop the new technologies. Entrench, because obviously World War I was a lot of entrenching. Diplomacy, move forward, backward markers on the political track to make neutral countries join the war. I like when they have stuff like that in there so you can get a little bit of extra people involved, increase the scope. Missions, create air missions and tank missions to support you in battle. It looked like the World War II version, and I'll show you this as we scroll down, has air missions, but it obviously doesn't have tank missions because tanks were, the troops, they were actually involved. In this, tanks were more of a support thing because they were much less involved in World War I than they were in World War II. And it does show how to play in 2 minutes. And I'm guessing from the scope of this, you could learn the basics of how to play the game in just a few minutes. So that's why I'm saying it's not beer and pretzels. It's just a step above in that complexity. Does have some nice examples of play, but we will go over some of those actually down here in the World War II game, because this is the one I'm thinking about getting. I'm World War II. What can I say? I like it. This one, Downfall of Third Reich, uses most of the mechanics of Downfall of Empires, but modifies some of the rules to adapt the conflict to the Second World War. So basically changes it for the technology. Incorporates tanks and new technology such as Blitzkrieg, Urals Industry, Amphibious Landing, and many others. To win, the German player has to resist without being surrendered the 22 turns that last the game. Oh, cool. Same size map. Is laid out a little bit different than the other one. It's set just in Europe, and the tip here of Northern Africa is also involved. Technology tiles, similar to what we were looking at previously, but you see a lot more of actual technology. Tanks, submarines, aviation, jet aircraft, all that type stuff. Same thing for the Soviets. They're going to be unlocking it. The Allied technologies, they're going to be unlocking these things as well. And you see the counters, there's a lot more. I forget how many, it was 140 or so. In the other one, it's 199 in this one. And there's something like 30 more combat armies. The scope of the war was a little bit bigger. So this is what I like. This is the reason I'm kind of leaning towards World War II as being a little bit more cost effective, because it looks like you get just a little bit more in the box. But honestly, I don't think it's that big of a deal. It really comes down to your personal preference, what you really want. These are the mission markers, and I'm thinking, just because I haven't read the rules, I've just read over some of the examples of play, that you'll conduct these missions and it'll gain bonuses or take out enemy troops formations if you do like airstrike, something like that. So air combat is a little more abstracted than the ground combat's going to be. And then obviously we got game markers, but they do have like newer resources like oil and fuel that have to be considered 2 dice, just your basic D6. And you see the counters are the same type. Shows you nationality, combat factor, and support factor. Simple to learn. I like that. And the phases are actually a little bit different in this game. Supply phase, 5, you could get 5 supply units. Reinforcements, same as before. But you got armor production where you get 3 armor units. Air missions, you get 2 air missions. Submarine missions, and that's Axis only, they get 3 submarine missions. Develop new technologies, and Lend-Lease, which is to give an additional action to the Soviet Union. Interesting way to show the Soviet Union and Lend-Lease and how that works. They also do have a how to play in 2 minutes, and then some examples of play here. And this is what I was going to kind of show you guys. Right here, I won't highlight it because it's all going blue. Germany has invaded the USSR. The Soviet armies in Vilnius are out of supply. They can't trace a supply line to any home supply source because the Soviets still haven't developed blitzkrieg technology. Soviet armies cannot trace a supply line through contested areas. If at the end of the Soviet turn these units are still out of supply, they will be eliminated. So if your units are cut off, they're eliminated. That's brutal. And you can see it right here. If you guys pay attention to where my cursor is on the screen, they are surrounded in these areas, right? So there's German units here, German units here, German units here, and German units here surrounding them. And since they do have armies in those areas, they are contested except for this one, but they can't trace the supply line, so they get wiped out. But the Germans, they do have blitzkrieg technology, so like their units here can trace a supply line back to Germany, and they're not going to be wiped out due to that. That's what it talks about down here, and it's explaining it on how the support factors work. But like I was saying earlier, if you look here in this Riga section, there's 2 Soviet armies and 3 German armies. Because of that, one German army fights one Soviet, the other German army fights the other Soviet, and that means this third, that extra German army, gets to add their support factor into the combat. So you want to have numerical superiority when you can get it. Let's scroll on down. And this is key. This is what always inspires confidence for me, is when they allow you to download the Vassal module so you can try the game out first. That shows a publisher is confident in their product, that if you try it, you will buy it. That inspires confidence. That alone, to me, shows good stuff. And then it's showing the pledge levels, which we've already talked about, and how what you're paying versus what the retail would be. And like I said, for 2 games for 120, $60 a piece, that is not bad. Not bad. You could even bump it up and get the play mats, because they're only charging about 20. Let's see if they show them as just an extra add-on. I don't think they do. Stretch goals, the 2 games, quick reference sheets. I'm sorry, quick reference sheets should not be stretch goals. That's, no, bad. Extra thick counters, that's fine as a stretch goal. Scenario sheet, 1 sheet in each game. And again, that's not really something that should be a stretch goal. Those are a couple of negatives I'd have to give them. Things that should just be in the game, like quick reference sheets, anything that basically adds to the ease of play, right? That is not something that should be a stretch goal. A friggin' reference sheet? No, that's not a stretch goal. Counter tray, that's a stretch goal. That's fine. Yeah, these 2 things I would definitely like to see added. The rest of them are fine to be stretch goals. Timeline looks like they plan on fulfilling at the end of the year. That's not going to happen. I'm sorry. It never happens. No company ever meets their fulfillment goal. They should add just 3 months onto that. If you get it by January of 2023, they've hit their timeline. And then rough shipping costs based on where you're at. Looks like about $18 to ship to me, so about $20. So yeah, I was right. About $140 is what you should expect out the door. If you're US, it's going to depend on you. And Pledge Manager is going to be handled by Kick and Go. I don't use that one as much, but have used it with one Kickstarter and it hasn't been a problem. And I do like how they show you how it works. And that appears to be it. And down here it does show the people involved. They do have some reviews. They had it down here at the bottom. I'd missed that previously. And look, they got Mr. Stuka Joe. So make sure you go check out Stuka Joe and Downfall of Empires. And I don't recognize Zilla Blitz. Not someone I know, but Stuka definitely does good work. And Homo Ludens, I'm afraid I don't know him. I think he's probably in another country, and they do have some of their own. See, Do It Games. Players Aid did an interview with them as well. And Julius, I do believe I've talked to Julius before. So yeah, they've got plenty of reviews down here and videos for you guys to check out if you want to, see a little bit more of the game. There's plenty. I would definitely recommend Stuka Joe because he always does excellent work. All hail the Stuka. He is the legend. But it just looks like a neat strategic level game. Something promising. I'm expecting good things. Nothing overly deep, but something for me to get out and kick around World War II in an evening or two if I want to, or World War I if it so interests you. All right, but that's going to be it for this one. You guys put any comments or questions you have down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Y'all take care.